Greetings! Marcus Melnick here with FirearmMentor.com. I do videos 2 to 4 times a month on current events, topics, that type of thing. One of our subscribers asked me to do a video on ammunition. So that's what this video is going to be about, ammunition. Why should you listen to me? I'm a survivor. As a matter of fact, I even have a shirt that I'm wearing, and it says, I survived a Jewish mother. Okay, that's just a little joke. So let me start by explaining how ammunition works. This is a 50 caliber BMG round, traditional round. Just to make this inert, we've drilled holes in it, and whatever gunpowder was in it has been taken out so I can use this for demonstration purposes. So here is how a cartridge, and the entire thing is called a cartridge. The actual bullet is just the projectile. In other words, this would be the actual bullet and a different type of bullet. The entire thing is called a cartridge. So at the base of the cartridge, for a center fire cartridge, and I'll go into the difference between center fire and rimfire, there is a small disc. This disc is called a primer, and it is a shock-sensitive explosive. Basically, when it's in the firearm, it'll behave just like a whippersnapper or pop-it, which are those little white fireworks you throw on the ground and they pop or they snap. That is a shock-sensitive explosive. So when this is in the gun, the firing pin strikes the primer, which creates a very small spark on the inside. That will ignite gunpowder, and gunpowder looks like little black powder. Sometimes it's discs, sometimes it's rods. I'm not going to get into the chemical composition, but that little spark that the primer produces ignites the gunpowder within the cartridge, creating rapidly expanding gas and basically an explosion. And because the cartridge is encapsulated in a barrel and a loading chamber, the gases all will go out the barrel, and that's why the bullet shoots out the barrel. So that is how a center fire works. If you were to throw a live cartridge into a bonfire, what do you think would happen? Well, I'll tell you, it would not shoot like a bullet in a gun or a cartridge in a gun. It would explode in all directions. So physics say that the path of an object is the path of least resistance. And because it's encapsulated in a gun, there's only one place for that bullet to go, and that's down the barrel. In a bonfire, it's not encapsulated, so it would explode in all directions. All right, next, I'm going to talk about mostly handgun ammunition. I use this because it's large and you can actually see the primer, as opposed to a handgun bullet, which it's a little bit smaller, more difficult to see. So that is how a center fire cartridge works. However, I'm going to show you something called a rimfire cartridge. Okay, you can see that this has a rim, and this does not have a primer on the inside. When manufactured, the bullets are actually spun. The priming component is loaded into the rim, and due to centrifugal force, the priming component goes on the edges. So the firing pin actually strikes the edge of this. Everything else is absolutely the same. All right, so let's go on to talk about a couple of other things that we need to explain, and that is the type of actual bullet or projectile. And I have several. I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to move the camera so that you can actually see all the projectiles that I have. I will go through these and let you know. So when we talk about bullets, we're only talking about the actual projectile. There are different materials, there are different shapes. I will start off with this one. You can see that this is called, well, you might not be able to see, but this is called a lead round nose bullet. It is just pure lead. Lead can be a harmful substance, so after you're done with shooting, cleaning, or even handling ammunition, I'm going to wash my hands with soap and cold water. Cold water prevents your pores from opening, it closes them, and prevents lead from getting into your skin. Ultimately, you do ingest lead through your digestive systems, which is why you want to shave your hands. So we all had lead pencils. We all have lead pencils. If you look here, and I don't know how well it'll show on the video, but you can see I drew a line with the cartridge or with the bullet. So that is a lead nose round bullet. I don't recommend using these unless they are the only ammunition that you can get, only because they dirty up, they foul up the inside of your firearm, and it's a little bit more difficult to clean. What I do recommend is something called jacketed ammunition. And if you look at the base of this, and you look very carefully, you can see that there is lead in it, but it is covered in a harder material, a jacket. This way, this is usually copper. It does not smear off in the barrel. All right, so let's talk about bullet shapes. This is round nose. This is called a semi-wad cutter. And a wad is basically a piece of paper. It's a flat nose, it tapers, and then there's a little bit of a shelf. This is also the same type of bullet. It's a little bit different because it's a different shape and caliber. So there are a ton of different, you can get different metals and steel. I recommend sticking with lead and jacketed lead. This is called a semi-jacketed round. This is actually made out of aluminum. The semi-jacket, you can see that the jacket does not encapsulate the full bullet. It has a softer tip, which allows it to expand once it gets into someone's flesh. Bullets can be confusing, so let's try to break down the confusion. If you are a handgun owner, there are two types of bullets that you should purchase. The first type is called, this is fully encapsulated. Doesn't really matter, you're not going to know because you're not going to be able to see it, but you want to get for the range inexpensive jacketed cartridges, jacketed bullets. Okay. Now, if you can, only thing you can get for the range is, a lead nose or semi-wad cutter with lead exposed, then get that. I know there's ammo shortages, get what you can get, but in an ideal situation, you want to choose something with a jacket. And that's just is it gonna shoot better? Not really, but it's going to truly make cleaning your firearms a lot easier, okay? So that the first thing you should get is a round nose for the range. Buy those in bulk. If you go to my website, firearmmentor.com, there is a link on where you can get decent deals on ammunition. The other type of ammunition that you want to get is hollow point. And you don't get a lot of these. You get a small amount of hollow point ammunition. You can see in these two hollow points, this is a 44 Magnum, this is a 357 Magnum. The point is actually hollow. And what this does is, because it's a hollow point, it expands upon impact, creating a larger wound channel. I know it's tough to talk about stopping a threat, potentially taking a life, and we never shoot to take a life. We only shoot to stop the threats, but this is going to stop your threat faster. You do not need to buy thousands and thousands of rounds of hollow point. They are more expensive, but you do need to have, a box or two for each firearm that you are going to use in a defensive manner. All right, and that's my overview. This is not at all the end-all and be-all of firearms. This is just a brief introduction of what you should get. If you have questions, please contact me through my website, firearmmentor.com. If there's other videos that you would like to see, let me know. I'm happy to really talk about anything. It's my second favorite topic is firearms. My first is myself. That was a joke, guys. I'm not really facetious. I'm not really focused on myself. I'm just making jokes. So, once again, Marcus Melnick, firearmmentor.com. If you like the shirt, they're available on Facebook Marketplace. And I am happy to answer any questions you might have. In 1 week, we have an advanced concealed carry class coming up. Right now, it's very low enrollment. If we can get another couple people, we will continue with the class. Otherwise, we may cancel it. So, any questions, please look me up. Thank you and stay safe.